Fran Villalba Segarra, the founder and CEO of Internxt. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So, Fran, would you start by describing Internxt a little bit before we start, taking a deep dive into it?
Yeah, for sure. So, very quickly. So, Internxt is essentially, a company, a startup that was founded about 5 years ago, with the goal of creating a digital world that respects user privacy. So, we're essentially competing with companies like, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and all these big kind of data giants, internet giants, by creating services that are alternative to these companies. So we've got a cloud storage product, a VPN, and antivirus. We're trying to compete with the whole kind of Google suite, and we're trying to kind of change the status quo by making services that are more privacy friendly. So we essentially can't access your data. We don't sell your data. Nobody has access to your data with us. That's kind of the value proposition.
Understood. Yeah, that's a topic that's important to a lot of people, especially I would say in crypto. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your journey? How did you get to create this company, and what led you to decide that you want to do it?
Yeah. So I worked at a cloud company called Hostinger, for 5 or 6 years before starting Internxt. So that was while I was studying back in university, and even before that. And while I was working there, the company they at some point they got hacked, and they had like a huge data leak. Um, and I started kind of realizing how kind of relevant the topic of privacy and keeping data secure online was, and that sometimes we take for granted that big tech companies kind of look after our data. They don't get hacked, and our information is safe with them. But I realized that it was very often that, like, kind of the case of Stinger wasn't an isolated case. It was very often that happened. And not only these companies sometimes get hacked, but also sometimes it's the own companies that hack your data. So for example, or kind of hack in the sense that they take access and they sell it. So for example, Google's business is based on your data. So kind of you're the product for Google. It's the same for all major big tech companies. So because of that, I realized that we needed a kind of better internet, and that's or kind of the next internet, and that's why I decided also to call the project Internxt. And because essentially we have the goal of creating kind of that next internet, that one that respects the user, that doesn't use the user as a product, and that creates kind of services that are an end per se and not a means to an end. So that's how Internxt came to be, and that was through my last year of university, more or less. So yeah, that's how Internxt was created, indeed. And I started on my own. I'm a solo founder, yeah, indeed.
Very interesting. Yeah, they used to say that if the product is free, then you're the product. If the service is free, then you're the product. But today, even services that you're paying for are still monetizing your data, even your OS. So that's pretty scary situation sometimes. But for, let's say that the normies out there, right? The people that are new to piracy, new to all this world, how do you convince them to abandon the Microsoft and the Googles and Amazon? Why should they step away from these companies and choose to work with Internxt?
Yeah, so essentially, when you use a service from Google, that being Google Drive, Google Meet, or Microsoft OneDrive, whatever. So these services, they're all encrypted, but they're encrypted, that they're server-side encrypted, meaning that the company kind of holds or saves the decryption key. So kind of, as we say in crypto, not your keys, not your money. So it's kind of like that. So these companies hold your keys, so to speak, and they have access to your data. They can sell it. They can, give access to that to third party, or eventually they can also get hacked. Dropbox has been hacked. iCloud got hacked as well. We've seen the case of Jennifer Lawrence and many celebrities, personal photos being leaked online. So, we have to keep our private information, our personal information, personal and not public. So I mean, it's distinct if I publish something on Instagram or Facebook, I want to make that public. But for the rest of the information that I have on the cloud or on the internet, maybe I just have it on the cloud because it's very practical, but I don't want a third party to gain access to that, or an unauthorized party. Maybe I want to share it with my family or whatever. That's fine. So kind of that's the problem of the internet nowadays. And with Internxt, essentially everything is client-side encrypted. Like we use zero-knowledge client-side encryption, meaning that only you hold the keys essentially. And also these past few weeks, we released a pretty big news. We're the first cloud company to release post-quantum encryption. So we developed on our own for the past few years the first post-quantum encrypted cloud storage service. So Internxt Drive, our cloud storage product, not only features zero-knowledge encryption, but also like zero-knowledge client-side encryption, but also post-quantum encryption right now, meaning that even for post-quantum computers, we're quantum safe, essentially. So it's like super, super secure. And also it's super, super simple to use. So it's literally the same user experience as using Google Drive or whatever, or Dropbox, but with us. So we have a web app, a desktop app, a mobile app. We have a small plan for people to test our product for 1 GB. They can use 1 GB to kind of test out a product if they want to. And then we have, annual and lifetime plans for, up to as many terabytes as they like, to be honest, since they can also stack plans. So that's pretty much what we're doing here at Internxt and why people should switch to us. I think it's a pretty interesting value proposition. And not only do we have a cloud storage product, we also have, as I was mentioning, a VPN, also encrypted. We have, an antivirus. We're launching Internxt Meet to replace Google Meet. We're launching Internxt Mail to replace Gmail. So we eventually want to have the whole Google suite built around privacy. So yeah, that's why people should switch to a company like Internxt. Yeah.
Very interesting. Can you explain, as much as possible in layman's terms for people that are, not technically too savvy, what does it mean to have like zero knowledge and post quantum security? Like what does it mean, like in practice?
Yeah, so essentially it means that no third party can gain access to your data. It means that we don't store your keys to decrypt your information, meaning that we can't technically get hacked, because even if someone came to hack us, we don't have your keys. So there's nothing to steal, so to speak. Everything is encrypted and we can't decrypt it. So even if someone with a quantum computer came, not only are we quantum computer safe, but also again, we try to minimize the amount of information that we store. Meaning that for example, for a hacker, it would make much more sense to go try hack, I don't know, Dropbox, for instance, because they do host the decryption keys. So if they went to hack Dropbox, they could theoretically gain access to them and then gain access to your data. Whereas for Internxt, all our information is encrypted and we don't store that key. Only you store it on your device, meaning that it's impossible for us to essentially, access your data, to sell your data. We cannot sell your data. We can't get theoretically hacked because there's nothing to hack, so to speak. So that's kind of the trustless kind of approach where you don't have to trust us. Everything kind of, it doesn't depend on us whether your data is secure or not. I mean, we obviously have all the mechanisms in place to make sure that, and we also audited, our code is open source, but all in all, you're the ultimate responsible for your personal information, which is kind of the way I think it should be. We're giving the power back to the people, because I think that's the way it should be. You should be able to use the internet without having to, gain access, like without allowing access to, big tech company or a government or eventually a hacker to your personal information.
Yeah, that's very much in line with the Bitcoin ethos, I would say, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't need to trust a company, whether it's a VPN provider or a drive, right? Someone that's holding your files. That's really important for people, I would say, in our space. But generally speaking, how do you see your target client? Like, what's the user base that you think is most receptive to your message?
Yeah, so I mean, pretty much everyone. I mean, people might think that a service like ours is very like it's for people that are very tech savvy or kind of crypto people or stuff like that. Obviously these are very hardcore users for a company like us. We have a lot of people from crypto industry, a lot of tech savvy people for sure. But all in all, we have about 1 million active users to date. But for example, companies like Proton, they have over 100 million active users, meaning that there's a lot of potential in this industry, and there's a lot of people to be, kind of approached. Because again, it's not a service that's limited to tech savvy people. It's a service that everybody could theoretically use. So yeah, I mean, literally everyone. We have companies, we have individuals, and literally anyone who essentially wants to use the internet without the downside of the internet is a potential internet user. And talking about Bitcoin, indeed, I think we have a very similar approach to theirs in the sense of a trustless approach. We are also a fully open source project, and as a matter of fact, very recently we also started working on our own Bitcoin reserve. So for crypto payments for our product, or so essentially we're trying to build up instead of just having a full cash kind of reserve, so to speak. So we have like all the companies, we have cash in the bank. We're also trying to build up on a Bitcoin reserve, which I think it makes a lot of long-term sense. So we even bought miners to kind of grow that Bitcoin reserve faster. And also crypto payments we receive, we keep in crypto, so that eventually that crypto reserve, that Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin reserve, can become as large as possible in the long term. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Can you tell us what cryptos are you accepting as payment? For everybody out there listening.
Yeah, so for crypto, so we partnered with a company called CoinGate. They work with companies like NordVPN or Hostinger to accept crypto payments. So if you go on their website, or you put on Google CoinGate Internxt or something, you can literally pay for a product in crypto. I think in any cryptocurrency, really, like pretty much any cryptocurrency, any ERC20 token, Ethereum, Bitcoin, literally anything. And what we do essentially is all that crypto we switch to, or we convert to Bitcoin, and we keep that as a Bitcoin reserve for the company. What we're also doing right now, which will be released throughout the course of this month, is we're directly integrating CoinGate within our checkout on our website. So right now we're accepting crypto through CoinGate, and essentially the checkout is hosted by them. And now we're essentially migrating that to our own checkout. It pretty much be the same. Same cryptocurrencies accepted. Everything will be exactly the same thing. So we accept any major cryptocurrency essentially. That's for a product. So we don't accept that for annual subscriptions, because we believe that it's still complicated to subscribe to a product with cryptocurrency. Like you can't put an automated charge on crypto, whereas you can do that for a card or PayPal. So we accept crypto for lifetime accounts, which is a one-time payment thing. So that we accept via CoinGate, yes, right now.
Very interesting. And I saw that you're you're personally you're based in Spain, correct?
Yes, we're a European company.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask about that because we're seeing countries, whether it's the UK or Australia, and people are concerned about the US eventually. Do you think that being or if you can tell us just what do you think is the advantage of being a European cloud provider versus other places in the world?
Yeah, so to be honest, I think that being an EU-based kind of technology company in general is significantly better than being a US-based or Canada-based or even Swiss-based company. Switzerland was said to be kind of the mecca of privacy, but very recently they approved a law that changes all of that. And they because before that Switzerland was very kind of hermetic, like they didn't accept data requests to kind of kind of access user data from Swiss companies, but that changed very recently. So essentially that's why, for example, companies like Proton, they're changing their like where they're based outside of Switzerland as well. So I think being in the EU is significantly better. We have GDPR, and unlike, for example, the US, we're very privacy friendly, and that kind of establishes a minimum guarantee to the people that when they're using an EU provider like ours, they have that minimum guarantee of privacy. But obviously at Internxt, we go a step further, and we do much more than what's kind of that bare minimum that the EU has and that the US, for example, doesn't even have. So we go much further. But yeah, I think essentially using any EU companies, in terms of privacy, usually always better than using a US provider. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very interesting to see Proton moving, because
Yeah.
they were really
Proud of being Swiss.
promoting themselves. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
very proud of being Swiss, and seeing them like announce it in like the fine prints and
Yeah.
the blog. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. So can you tell us about some of the, you mentioned that you have annual plans and monthly plans and lifetime plans. Can you tell us about the difference between your individual plans and your company plans? I also saw you have family plans, but
Mhm.
that's that's
Yeah. So, we
explain.
have so we have subscriptions. So essentially, you can subscribe to a product, pay current, and that's it. Essentially, pretty straightforward. We have that for individual and business and family plans, essentially. So, and also the difference between individual and business or family is that with business plans, you can add multiple users. So you can, for example, an individual account, you can only have your own account. Whereas for business, you can have like, up to, I don't know, 50, 20, however accounts you might need for your business, 100, whatever. And you can share within accounts, and you can have all these collaboration features that as an individual are more limited. And then for individuals, we also have these lifetime plans, which are like one payment, like one time, one-off payment product, essentially, where it's like kind of essentially is like kind of the main differentiating factor is between a subscription and a one-time lifetime plan is the same as, for example, with Spotify or buying DVD of the singer. So if you can either subscribe to Spotify, pay a subscription, recurrent subscription, or if you really like the singer, you're much better off buying the DVD. And long term is going to be much more much cheaper for you if you listen to that a lot, essentially. So and that's kind of the approach. So if you plan on using Internxt for the long term, obviously a lifetime plan makes much more sense for our users. They're actually very well priced, and we have a deal going on right now. So I think people should if they plan on being hardcore users, hardcore privacy users, they can buy that with us. If they want to pay in crypto, they can pay through CoinGate. So they can, as I said, Google CoinGate Internxt lifetime, whatever. And they can buy any of our 1 terabyte, 3 terabyte, or 5 terabyte products. And not only do they include the storage, but also they include an antivirus. They include our VPN with up to 5 locations. We're going to include Internxt Meet as part of the membership. We're going to include Internxt Mail as part of the membership. They're both coming in the next few months. We're also releasing a device cleaner like CCleaner or Clean My Mac. So we're also releasing that as part of your subscription. So you're getting much more than just cloud storage, essentially, so that you can eventually say goodbye for once and for all to Google, for instance. So that's kind of the approach. Yeah.
Got it. And we'll have the link in the description for anyone who wants to go and check out the plans. And I wanted to ask about the Bitcoin strategy. You mentioned holding crypto and having your own miners at the company. Can you tell us, why did you decide to take this approach?
Yeah. So we're essentially we've been profitable since last year, actually. And in general, we've been trying to run this company profitably for a very long time. We're not kind of the typical company that runs. So for example, NordVPN, they're spending hundreds of millions on advertising and often running their business unprofitably. So we're, as I said, open source project. I didn't start with a lot of resources, just with my own savings. So I try to scale this project with what I had and with what we generated. But as that built up, obviously for the past few years, we've grown a lot. I mean, we started, from zero, and right now, so past year we generated over 3 million euro in revenue. We plan on being at around 10 million euro in net revenue by 2027. And we want to scale our business a lot. As I said, Proton has over 100 million users, so we're still at 1 million. We've got a long way to go. So essentially, with the excess liquidity that we have, some of that is just sitting in our bank, but I think it's also kind of pretty intelligent to save some of that in Bitcoin itself. I think Bitcoin is an appreciating asset. I think it has a long way to go, and essentially, I think that eventually it could be much more interesting than just keeping your cash in a savings account that generates, like, I don't know, 3% a year or something. So I think Bitcoin could appreciate much more, essentially, and that goes for pretty much any relevant cryptocurrency. But specifically for Bitcoin, I think it's that trustless go-to cryptocurrency with like very conservative. It doesn't have a lot of risks involved, right? Like nowadays, I think it's pretty major right now. And for a company like us, we're in the privacy field. We're also open source, and we're very we're very popular amongst the crypto community. I think it just makes sense for us to essentially the payments we receive in crypto, first of all, keeping crypto. That doesn't take any additional effort for us. It's just pretty organic. But also with some of the excess liquidity, buying machines to mine Bitcoin to accelerate that growth of our Bitcoin reserve, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think, as I said, for a company like us, I think it just long term makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone who's listening to us is most likely agreeing with those points. Okay, so I think we learned a lot about the company. What else do you think that our audience needs to know or would want to know about Internxt?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think over the past few years, we've grown a lot. We've improved our services a lot. So I would, if people know us, I would ask them to give us another go. If they don't know us, I would for sure encourage them to try us out. I think there's a lot of, there's a lot to gain by using Internxt, and not a lot to kind of lose, since as I said, our services are not only like super innovative and super disruptive in terms of technology, but also super simple to use, so they don't really lose anything in terms of user experience when using Internxt versus Google, for example. So I would encourage them to use us. We have a deal going on our website right now if people want to buy our products with a discount. So also a good time to buy one of our products and give it a try, or otherwise get the free 1 GB plan to test it out beforehand. And yeah, essentially I would encourage them to make the switch to Internxt and kind of say goodbye to companies like Google, Microsoft, and so forth for once and for all. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much, Fran, for taking the time and talking to us today. And we'll make sure to include those links in the description, so everybody that's in the market for a new privacy respecting solution, open source, EU based, they got you covered. Thank you very much, Fran.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye.